Morning. Christian Castro is going to join us today. Christian is the owner of BITS, BITS, Bay Island Technology Services. Christian, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Chief. Amazing.
One of the big issues with tech right now, is kind of going to be around for a while because we're living on an island, and over the years, the internet quality has been improving a lot since I came here in 2014. But some people still either don't have their internet set up at home properly, or they feel like they're not getting the right amount of bandwidth, et cetera. And they're opting on Starlink. And talk to a number of tech guys. You're one of them. Tell us what Starlink is for those people who aren't really sure.
Well, Starlink, basically, it's a system of internet that uses satellites. It's just a simpler way to put it. They sell a bundle in which you have an antenna that goes in your roof or deck, and it goes back into a basic home router. The antenna connects to any available satellites on on the sky or orbit, and they give you connection to the internet. Now, there's a misconception sometimes that the world internet as we know it doesn't go through satellites. It goes through fiber optic cables around the world, submarine cables around the world. So Starlink came up with a solution for places in which we don't have fiber available yet. Um, there's places in the islands where whatever ISP or whatever internet provider we have on the island doesn't have a reach yet. So Starlink is amazing for those places.
The question a lot of people have is, you can see it on the internet here on Roatan. Is Starlink better than the existing systems, or is it a backup for the existing systems?
Okay, so the answer lies a little bit in between of those two questions. Starlink is not better than fiber. Um, to be technical about it, and apologies to the host if I'm going too technical, it's fiber works at the speed of light. Fiber transforms data in light and transfers data at that speed. And Starlink receives data in microwaves that they can travel at the speed of light too, but only if they're in a vacuum. But in an open space, they don't. So you tend to have some differences in latency, as we call it. So it works if you have fiber at your home and maybe you're having issues with your provider because it's going on and off and it's not consistent or they're not giving you a good customer service, then Starlink could be an option. Or if definitely they tell you, hey, we don't have fiber to your home, but we can offer you a couple of wireless links or some radios, then just go Starlink. Actually, uh, one of one of my friends says he lives around Mud Hole and there's no internet service provider there, and he just got a Starlink and it works great. It works for those places that don't have available fiber, and it's an amazing. It works amazing. You can stream, you can watch your movies, have video calls, do some gaming if you're into that. But you had got to keep in mind that being a satellite, that information has to travel from the from the surface of the Earth back to the satellite in the sky and back and forth, and so that data takes some time to be transferred. It's fast, but it will not beat fiber in the foreseeable future.
You mentioned something about part of the problem is that data seems to get cut off occasionally, depending on the provider, and it's not any one provider; it's all of them because it's happened with all.
Yeah.
There have been occasions where Claro, Tigo, Maxcom, and the other cable providers were all out due to a fiber cut on the mainland because people aren't aware that's where a lot of this comes from.
Yeah.
So local connection was great, but the connection outside of Roatan was almost impossible for hours. What causes these? I mean, I know you talk to a lot of tech guys. What causes these things to happen here?
Well, Roatan gets its connection to the outside world internet-wise in two ways. One, it's a wireless link between Roatan and the mainland. So it's called air fiber. That's how we initially got internet here on the island. And now we have the submarine cable. Now the submarine cable comes in. but also that submarine cable is dependent on routes inside the mainland. So when any one of those routes is affected, then that can affect the whole thing over here. So whenever we have a disconnection, it could be one of those, but it has to mean it has to be a disconnection of a provider on the entire island. I mean, that's if Tigo is down for everybody on the island, even your phone and internet and whatever, then that's the case there. But if it's just an area that is affected or something, that's more of an internal thing inside our Roatan internal network. That can be the problem. Um, but it's not necessarily just that it's always down or there's a fiber caught at the submarine cable or something. You got to keep in mind that the infrastructure of the island, when it comes to fiber or internet, it's still, I want to say, on baby steps. It's been built accordingly to the years. We're still using some of the old wood posts that you see on the streets. Some of the internet providers are trying to bring in their posts, but some of that needs some bureaucracy done at the municipality and stuff like that. So it's slowly growing into a mainland status. But it's going to take time, but we're getting there. I mean, we've made leaps, incredible leaps in the last 5 to 7 years. I want to say.
When I first came down here, the standard was 1 megabit download, 1 megabit up. If you
Mm-hmm.
had it and it was shared, you had tons of problems. And then you could upgrade to 3 megabits like a
Mm-hmm.
year and a half later. By 2017, it was moving up into the double digits finally. And now you can have 30, 40 or more as up and down. For people that are wondering what that is, that's just the size of the amount of data transfer
Yeah.
you can have at one time,
Mm-hmm.
which means that if somebody's on a shared system, you're actually getting more when no one else is on with you. But if it's a dedicated system, you have a lot. I don't think people understand that. Explain why some people uh, um, could solve their problems simply by upgrading the quality of the amount of bandwidth that they buy.
Yeah, that's a very good question. There's something that we call in the network business relationships. Or so normally a big hotel or a big company, let's say, island shipping kind of company or Reco kind of company, they may need internet as a one-on-one relation. That means that it's symmetrical internet. So a company like that size can do with 50 megabits or 100 megabits and will be fine for their business because it's a one-on-one relationship. It's pure fiber to them. Now, for a residential, when you say you want to get 50 or 150, they give you on a one-on-three relationship. That means that it's split, not necessarily split among the among your neighbors, but it is a one-on-three it is those 50 when you get to the provider when you connect to the provider you get those megs. So and they may lower it down when they get to their offices and then to the internet. So it's a bit technical, and I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. But on a residential basis, the residential internet that we have now on the island, either with the two biggest providers that we have, which is Max and Edmond, you can get pretty good residential internet now, and it's possible to keep a good connection, keep it stable, and do your video calls and do your or your homework, your works, whatever. And coming back to Starlink, Starlink is just another provider that came in, and they have the possibility for you to connect it to your whole network. Like if you have a house and it's a big concrete house and you want to have Starlink, the little small router they come in the package won't do for that if you already have an internal network. Um, but they sell you the little adapter that you can connect to your entire setup, and you can have it as a backup or as the main. Some of my clients have done that. They want to get Starlink as a backup and connect it to the main network. So whenever their main connection is either Max or Tigo or Edmond or whatever goes down, the other one comes in immediately, and they're still online. So it's an interesting technology, and it's beneficial for us in the island, especially for those who don't have access to fiber or provider in their homes.
Christian Castro with us this morning from Bits Computers 101.1 Blue Wave Radio. Thanks, Christian.
No problem. Thank you for having me.